This is HOA Neighbor Wars. She called it fire lane, and I called it a lie. I tried to speak, and Karen shouted over me that my voice did not matter. Only the violation did. I am here to enforce. Monica Phillips jabbed her finger at the temporary paper permit in my windshield and said it again, louder, like volume could rewrite reality. I work as a financial analyst, which means I track every HOA fee down to the cent, and right now I was tracking exactly how fast this woman was about to destroy her own credibility. We were standing in the driveway of my townhome in the Parkside Reserve Association, Albuquerque, New Mexico, where the mailbox cluster doubles as the unofficial courtroom, and Monica runs the election committee like a warlord with proxies and ballots. My refinance closing was in 3 weeks and any lien threat could blow the deal, so I could not afford to let this spiral. Monica wore a blue light jacket with the hood up and a pink visor, and she clutched a small key safe box she insisted belonged to the HOA. I wore my black work shirt with the hood up and a navy bucket hat, checking my watch every 30 seconds, because my deadlines were tighter than her grip on that box. Monica said the permit was invalid because it was not an official decal. I said the HOA office gave me the paper permit 2 days ago when the new decal system rolled out and they ran out of stock. She said she did not care what the office told me. She said the tow vendor had authority to remove any non-compliant vehicle. I said, "Show me the rule." She pulled out her phone and scrolled, then snapped it shut and said, "I do not need your explanation. I need your payment." That was the first time she said it. I filed it away because it was going to come back. A rideshare driver sat in his car at the curb waiting for a pickup, rolling his eyes at the whole show. Monica ignored him. She slapped a bright tow warning sticker on my windshield. No readable text, but the neon orange screamed official threat. I peeled it off immediately and she said that was destruction of HOA property. I said it was adhesive trash on my car. She said I would be hearing from the board. I said I looked forward to it. She turned and walked toward the mailbox cluster, still clutching that key safe box like it held nuclear codes. I went inside and pulled up my account on the HOA management portal. Fees current. Permit request submitted and approved. No violations on file. I screenshotted everything and saved it to a folder I labeled Monica. Then I checked my watch again. 48 hours until my next refinance document batch was due and I could not have any clouds on the title. I called the management company and got voicemail. I left a message about the sticker and the threat. No callback that night. The next morning I walked out to my car and found a second sticker. Same neon orange, same threat vibe. Placed directly over where the first one had been. This one was stuck harder. I took photos from 3 angles, then peeled it off and kept it as evidence. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Your vehicle will be towed within 24 hours unless all violations are resolved. Contact the tow vendor directly to avoid additional fees. I replied asking what violation. No response. I drove to the HOA office at the clubhouse. The office was closed even though the posted hours said it should be open. A note taped to the door said the manager was at an off-site meeting. No other details. I took a photo of the note and the posted hours. Then I walked around the building to the exterior walkway where people usually gather before board meetings. A heavy-duty gate chain loop hung from a post near the parking lot entrance, swaying slightly in the breeze. It looked decorative, but I knew it was part of the vehicle access control system. Monica had mentioned once that the gate vendor tied directly into the HOA admin accounts. I checked my watch. 30 minutes before I had to be on a call. I got back in my car and drove to the front gate to test my access. I swiped my resident card. The gate stayed closed. I swiped again. Nothing. I tried the guest code the office had given me last month for contractor access. Gate error. A car pulled up behind me and honked. I waved them around and tried one more time. The system beeped and displayed a red light. No entry. I reversed out of the lane and drove around to the side entrance. Same result. My access was locked. I pulled over in a visitor spot outside the gate perimeter and called the management company again. This time I got a live person. I explained the gate issue and the stickers and the tow threat. The representative said she would escalate to the property manager and someone would call me back within 24 hours. I said I did not have 24 hours because the text said my car would be towed. She said she understood my frustration and repeated the 24-hour callback window. I hung up and checked my email. Nothing from the HOA. Nothing from the tow vendor. Just the phantom text. I drove to my office and worked the morning, but my mind kept circling back to the gate glitch. It started the exact moment I pushed back on Monica. That was not coincidence. I pulled up the HOA bylaws and searched for gate access policies. Section 12 said access could be suspended for delinquent accounts or safety violations, but required written notice and a hearing. I had neither. I took another screenshot. At lunch, I got a call from a number I did not recognize. I answered. A man identified himself as the operations manager for the tow vendor. He said my vehicle was flagged for immediate removal due to multiple permit violations. I said I had a valid permit. He said his records showed no valid decal on file. I said the HOA office issued a temporary paper permit. He said paper permits were not recognized under the contract. I said, show me the contract language. He paused, then said he would have to review it and call me back. I said I would be documenting this entire conversation. He hung up. That afternoon, I received a certified mail notice in my mailbox. I had to pick it up at the post office because I was not home when it arrived. I drove over after work. The envelope was from the Parkside Reserve Association. Inside was a formal violation notice citing 3 infractions: invalid vehicle permit, unauthorized removal of HOA enforcement materials, and obstruction of gate access systems. Each infraction carried a $50 fine, total $250, with a late fee structure that kicked in after 7 days. The notice was dated 2 days prior, which meant it was generated the same day Monica slapped the first sticker on my windshield. The postmark showed it was mailed the next day. My certified mail arrived late and Monica would absolutely treat it like my choice if I missed the deadline. I photographed every page and added them to the Monica folder. Then I reread the obstruction charge. It claimed I had tampered with gate access infrastructure. I had done no such thing. I had swiped my card like a normal resident. The system failed. That was not tampering. That was a system error. I pulled up my bank records and confirmed every HOA fee was paid on time going back 2 years. No gaps. No late payments. I had payment confirmations for every transaction. I added those to the folder too. I called my ally. His name was Mark, a former HOA board member who quit after Monica took over the election committee. He knew her pattern. He had warned me 6 months ago that she was building a list of people who questioned her, and that she used public shaming and theatrics at meetings to intimidate anyone who pushed back. I told him about the stickers, the gate lockout, the tow threat, the violation notice. He said it was textbook Monica. He said she had done the same thing to another resident last year over a guest parking dispute. That resident eventually paid the fines and moved out. Mark said I needed to fight it, but I had to be ready for her to escalate. I said I was already escalated. He said it would get worse. He offered to help. I said I needed a witness at the next board meeting, and I needed someone who could verify the gate access logs. He said he still had a contact in the management company IT department. He would make a call. That night, I drafted a response to the violation notice. I cited the bylaws section on hearings, included my payment history, attached the permit approval screenshot from the management portal, and requested an immediate reinstatement of my gate access. I sent it via email to the HOA management company and the board distribution list. I sent a copy to Monica directly. I kept a PDF in the Monica folder. Then I checked my watch and realized my refinance coordinator was going to call in 10 minutes for a document review. I could not afford to let this HOA mess blow up my closing. The next morning, I woke up to another text from the unknown number. Final notice. Your vehicle will be removed today at 5 p.m. unless all violations are cleared and fees are paid in full. I replied demanding proof of authority and a copy of the tow contract. No response. I called Mark. He said his IT contact confirmed that my gate access was manually disabled 2 days ago from an admin account tied to Monica Phillips. The log showed no reason code, no violation flag, just a manual lockout. He said that was a smoking gun. I said I needed that in writing. He said his contact was nervous about retaliation, but would pull the logs if I needed them for a hearing or legal action. I said I might need them today. I worked from home that morning and kept my car in the driveway where I could see it from the window. At noon, a tow truck rolled down the street. It slowed in front of my townhome, then kept going. I took a photo of the truck and the company name on the side. It matched the vendor Monica mentioned. I called Mark again. He said the tow company had an exclusive contract with the HOA, but he remembered there was a clause about notice requirements and appeals. He said I should request a copy of the contract. I said I already asked the tow vendor and got stonewalled. He said ask the management company. I said I would try. I called the management company and got the same representative from yesterday. I asked for a copy of the tow vendor contract. She said it was proprietary and not available to residents. I said the bylaws required vendor contracts to be disclosed on request. She said she would check with her supervisor. I said I needed it today. She said she would do her best. I hung up and checked the time. 3 hours until the 5 p.m. deadline in the text. At 2 p.m. my phone rang. The property manager. She introduced herself and said she had reviewed my file. She said the violation notice was issued in accordance with policy and the fines were valid. I said the permit was valid and approved by the office. She said the temporary paper permits were never authorized by the board and the office staff made an error. I said that was not my problem. She said the resident was responsible for compliance regardless of staff errors. I said that was insane. She said I could appeal at the next board meeting in 2 weeks. I said my car was being threatened with tow in 3 hours. She said if I paid the fines, the tow order would be canceled. I said I was not paying fines for a violation that did not exist. She said that was my choice. I said I wanted the gate access logs and the tow contract. She said she would look into it and hung up. I kept my voice low because my trump card needed perfect timing. I had been tracking something else. I had been logging every gate access attempt, every failed swipe, every error message, and I had noticed a pattern. My access failed 2 days ago, exactly when Monica disabled it. But there were other failures too. Guest codes stopped working. Contractor access codes failed. The side gate randomly locked during peak hours. All of it started the same day Monica took over the access system admin account after the previous board member resigned. I had screenshots of the error messages. I had dates and timestamps. I had a documented log of repeated gate access failures tied to Karen's admin account. I was not going to reveal it yet. I needed the right moment, the right audience, and I needed Monica to feel confident enough to double down. At 4:30 p.m., the tow truck came back. This time it pulled into my driveway. I walked outside. The driver got out and said he had an order to tow my vehicle. I said I was disputing the violation and the order was premature. He said he was just following the work order. I said, "Show me the work order." He pulled out a clipboard with a printed sheet. No readable text, but it had the HOA logo at the top and my address. I took a photo. He said he needed to proceed. I said I had submitted an appeal and the bylaws required a hearing before enforcement. He said he did not deal with bylaws, he dealt with work orders. I said I was putting him on notice that this tow was unauthorized and I would hold the company liable. He paused. He called someone on his phone. I could not hear the full conversation, but I heard him say the resident is claiming an appeal. He hung up and said he was going to wait for clarification. I said I appreciated that. He leaned against his truck. Monica appeared from the direction of the mailbox cluster. She was still holding that small key safe box. She walked up to the driver and said the tow was authorized and he needed to proceed immediately. The driver said the resident claimed an appeal. Monica said there was no valid appeal because the resident had not followed proper procedure. I said I submitted my appeal in writing yesterday via email to the board and the management company. Monica said email was not proper procedure. I said the bylaws did not specify a procedure and email was standard for all HOA correspondence. Monica turned to the driver and said, "Do your job." The driver looked uncomfortable. He said he needed written confirmation from the management company. Monica said she was the election committee chair and she had authority to issue tow orders. The driver said he needed it in writing from the management company, not a board member. Monica's face went red. Monica turned to me and said, "I will bury you in notices until you run out of printer ink." That was the second time she said something that was about to boomerang. The rideshare driver from 2 days ago was back, parked at the curb again, filming the whole thing on his phone. Monica did not notice him. She turned back to the tow driver and said if he did not proceed, she would call his supervisor and cancel the contract. The driver said he would call his supervisor himself. He walked back to his truck and made the call. Monica stood there, fuming, still gripping that key safe box. I checked my watch. My refinance coordinator was going to call in an hour, and I needed a clear head. The driver came back and said his supervisor confirmed he needed written authorization from the management company before proceeding with a disputed tow. Monica said this was not disputed. This was enforcement. The driver said the resident filed an appeal, and that made it disputed. Monica said the appeal was invalid. The driver said that was not his determination to make. He got back in his truck and drove away. Monica stood there for a long moment, then turned to me and said, "You just made this much worse for yourself." She walked back toward the mailbox cluster. The rideshare driver gave me a thumbs up and drove off. I went back inside and immediately emailed the property manager, attaching the photos of the tow truck, the work order, and a written account of the confrontation. I CC'd the board and Mark. I stated clearly that I had put the tow vendor on notice, that the driver had declined to proceed without proper authorization, and that I expected the tow order to be formally canceled in writing. I sent it and checked my watch. The refinance coordinator called 5 minutes later. I walked her through the document updates and kept my voice calm. She asked if there were any title issues. I said there was an HOA dispute, but it was being resolved. She said to keep her posted. I said I would. That night I could not sleep. I kept running scenarios. Monica was going to escalate. The gate lockout was step 1. The tow attempt was step 2. What was step 3? I got up and checked the HOA portal again. My account still showed no violations. The notice I received by certified mail was not reflected in the system. That was sloppy. I took another screenshot showing the discrepancy. Then I checked the board meeting schedule. The next meeting was in 12 days. I could not wait that long. I needed to force a confrontation sooner. If you are enjoying this nightmare, hit that like button and subscribe for more HOA horror stories where the paper trail wins. The next morning, I received an email from the property manager. It said the tow order had been placed on hold pending review, but the violation fines remained in effect, and payment was due within 5 days to avoid additional late fees. I replied asking for the gate access logs and the tow vendor contract. No response. I forwarded the email to Mark. He said his IT contact was ready to pull the logs, but needed a formal request from me in writing stating that I was exercising my right to inspect HOA records under state law. I drafted the request and sent it to the management company, citing the New Mexico Homeowners Association Act, and requesting all records related to gate access, tow authorizations, and vendor contracts. I sent a copy to Monica. I kept a copy in the Monica folder. 2 days passed. No response from the management company. My gate access was still disabled. I had to park on the street outside the community perimeter and walk in every time I came home. It added 10 minutes to every trip. My refinance closing was in 2 weeks. I called the lender and gave them a heads up about the HOA dispute. They said if a lien was filed, it could delay or kill the closing. I said I was fighting the fines and had evidence the violations were invalid. They said to keep them updated. On the third day, I got a text from Mark. His IT contact had pulled the gate access logs. There were 47 failed access attempts across 12 resident accounts in the past 2 weeks. All of them started the day Monica took over the admin account. The log showed no reason codes, no maintenance flags, no explanation. Just manual lockouts. Mark said his contact was willing to provide a written summary, but would not testify at a board meeting for fear of retaliation. I said a written summary was enough. He sent it over. I added it to the Monica folder. I now had payment confirmations proving I was never delinquent despite their fee blast, gate access logs showing a pattern of abuse tied to Monica's admin account, screenshots showing discrepancies between the portal and the violation notice, photos of the tow truck and the confrontation, and a timeline to make it clear Monica was weaponizing the system. I kept my voice low, because my trump card needed perfect timing. I was not going to hand it over until I had the right audience and Monica was locked into her version of events. That afternoon, Monica called a special board meeting. The email went out to all residents with 24 hours notice. The agenda listed one item: consideration of enforcement actions against non-compliant residents. No names, but I knew it was about me. The meeting was scheduled for the clubhouse exterior walkway, outside, where people usually gathered before formal sessions. Mark said it was a power move. Monica wanted a public audience to shame me into compliance. He said he would be there. I prepared a presentation packet. I printed everything: payment history, permit approval, gate access logs, tow vendor communications, photos, the violation notice, the bylaw excerpts. I made 3 copies, one for me, one for Mark to hold as backup, one to hand to the board at the right moment. I practiced my statement. I kept it short and factual. I was not going to get emotional. I was not going to give Monica any ammunition. The night before the meeting, I checked my email and found a message from the management company. It was the tow vendor contract, attached as a PDF. I opened it and started reading. The contract was signed 2 years ago. It included standard terms, notice requirements, fee schedules, appeals process. Then I got to the termination clause. The contract term was 24 months with automatic renewal, unless either party provided 60 days written notice. I checked the signature date. The contract expired 4 months ago. I scrolled to the end. No renewal signature. No addendum. The contract had lapsed. The tow vendor had been operating without a valid contract for 4 months. Every tow, every fee, every threat was unauthorized. Monica had been signing work orders under an expired agreement. I sat back and stared at the screen. This was bigger than a bad permit dispute. This was vendor fraud. This was an HOA officer authorizing enforcement actions without legal authority. I saved the contract to the Monica folder and sent a copy to Mark with a single line. The contract expired 4 months ago. Mark called me 10 seconds later. He said this changed everything. He said if the contract was expired, every tow action was potentially illegal and the HOA could be liable for damages. He said I needed to bring this up at the meeting, but I had to do it carefully because Monica would try to shut me down. He said I should hand the evidence to the board first, then present it to the room so Monica could not isolate me. I said that was exactly my plan. He said he would back me up. The next evening I walked to the clubhouse exterior walkway. About 20 residents were already there milling around. Monica stood near the entrance, holding her clipboard and that small key safe box. She wore the same blue light jacket and pink visor. I wore my black work shirt and navy bucket hat, hood up, checking my watch. Mark arrived a few minutes later and stood off to the side. I handed him the backup packet. He nodded. Monica called the meeting to order. She did not use a gavel or a formal procedure. She just raised her voice and said we were here to address ongoing compliance violations that threaten the safety and property values of the community. She said one resident in particular had repeatedly violated parking and permit rules, obstructed HOA enforcement efforts, and refused to pay valid fines. She did not say my name, but everyone knew. A few people looked at me. I stayed calm. Monica said the board had authorized escalated enforcement, including immediate towing of non-compliant vehicles and suspension of community access privileges. She said this was necessary to protect the integrity of the HOA. She said residents who refused to comply would face additional penalties including liens and legal action. She looked directly at me when she said liens. I raised my hand. Monica ignored me. I raised it higher. Someone in the crowd said let him speak. Monica sighed and said I could have 2 minutes. I walked to the front and handed one packet to Monica and one to the other board member present, a man named Carl who mostly stayed quiet. I kept the third packet for myself. I said my name and address for the record. I said I was here to dispute the violation notice and the enforcement actions taken against me. I said I had submitted a valid permit application and it was approved by the HOA office. I said the temporary paper permit was issued by HOA staff due to a decal shortage and I had documentation proving it. I said my gate access was manually disabled from an admin account without cause and without notice. I said I had never been delinquent on fees and I had payment records going back 2 years. I said the tow vendor was called to my property without proper authorization and I had put them on notice that the action was disputed. Monica interrupted and said I was out of time. I said I had one more critical point. I said the tow vendor contract expired 4 months ago and every enforcement action since then was unauthorized. The crowd went silent. Monica's face went pale, then red. She said that was not true. I said I had a copy of the contract provided by the management company and I would be happy to show the signature date and the expiration clause. Carl flipped through the packet I had given him. He found the contract. He looked up at Monica and said this contract is expired. Monica said it was automatically renewed. Carl said there was no renewal signature. Monica said it was verbal. Carl said the contract required written notice. Monica said the management company handled renewals. Carl said the management company reported to the board, and the board was responsible for vendor oversight. He looked at the crowd and said, if this contract is expired, we have a serious problem. Someone in the crowd said we should call the management company right now. Someone else said we should call a lawyer. Monica tried to regain control. She said the contract issue was a technicality and did not change the fact that I had violated parking rules. I said the violation was based on a temporary permit issued by the HOA office and I had done nothing wrong. Monica said the temporary permits were never authorized by the board. I said that was an internal HOA failure and could not be used to penalize residents. I said I had documented evidence of gate access abuse, improper fee assessments, and retaliation. I said I was prepared to file a formal complaint with the management company and the state regulatory board if this was not resolved immediately. Mark stepped forward. He said he was a former board member and he could verify that Monica had a pattern of using enforcement actions to intimidate residents who questioned her. He said he had witnessed similar tactics last year and the resident ended up moving out. He said the gate access logs showed systemic abuse and the HOA needed to conduct an independent audit. Monica said Mark was biased and his testimony was irrelevant. Mark said the logs spoke for themselves. Carl said he wanted to see the gate access logs. I handed him the summary from Mark's IT contact. Carl read it and said there were dozens of unexplained lockouts. He asked Monica if she could explain them. Monica said the system had technical issues. Carl said the logs showed manual lockouts from an admin account. Monica said she was managing access for security reasons. Carl said security reasons required documentation and board approval. Monica said she had authority as election committee chair. Carl said the election committee had no authority over gate access. The crowd started murmuring. Someone said Monica should step down. Someone else said we needed a special election. Monica said everyone was overreacting. She said I was making false accusations to avoid paying legitimate fines. I said I had documentation for every claim. I said the HOA could review it with the management company and legal counsel. I said I was also requesting a formal written reversal of the violation notice, immediate reinstatement of my gate access, and a cancellation of all fines. I said if the HOA refused, I would pursue legal action for harassment, defamation, and breach of fiduciary duty. Carl said he was not comfortable proceeding without legal review. He said the meeting should be tabled, and the board should meet with the management company and an attorney. Monica said that was unnecessary. Carl said it was absolutely necessary. He said the expired contract alone was a major liability and the HOA needed to act immediately to protect itself. He said he was formally moving to suspend all enforcement actions pending a full audit. Someone in the crowd seconded. Carl called for a vote. Monica abstained. Carl voted yes. The motion passed. Monica stood there, shaking, still clutching that key safe box. She said this was not over. She said I would regret making this public. I said I looked forward to the audit. She turned and walked away, nearly knocking over the heavy-duty gate chain loop hanging from the post. The chain swung and rattled. The crowd started to disperse. A few people came up to me and said they had similar issues with Monica. One woman said her guest parking pass was revoked without explanation. Another man said his gate access was locked for 2 weeks over a landscaping dispute. Mark said we should organize a formal complaint group. I said I would help. Carl stayed behind and apologized. He said he was not aware of the extent of the issues, and he took responsibility for not providing better oversight. He said the board would meet with the management company first thing in the morning, and he would push for a full investigation. He said my gate access would be reinstated immediately and the violation notice would be formally withdrawn. He said the HOA would also review the tow-vendor relationship and determine next steps. I said I appreciated that. He shook my hand and left. I walked back home with Mark. He said I handled it perfectly. He said Monica was finished. He said the board would have no choice but to remove her from the election committee and possibly the board entirely. He said the expired contract was the smoking gun that made everything else undeniable. I said I could not have done it without his help. He said that was what neighbors were for. The next morning, I received an email from the property manager. It was a formal written reversal from management with a real citation attached for Monica. The email confirmed that my gate access had been reinstated, the violation notice was withdrawn, all fines were canceled, and the HOA would be conducting a comprehensive audit of enforcement policies and vendor relationships. The citation attached was for Monica Phillips, issued by the board, for unauthorized use of admin access, improper fee assessments, and failure to disclose the expired vendor contract. The citation included a suspension from all board duties pending the outcome of the investigation. I printed the email and added it to the Monica folder. Then I checked my HOA portal. My account was clear. No violations, no fines. Gate access active. I tested it on my way to work. The gate opened smoothly. I drove through and checked my watch. I was ahead of schedule. That afternoon, I received a call from the tow vendor operations manager. He said the company had reviewed the contract situation and determined that the work orders issued over the past 4 months were not valid. He said the company would be refunding all fees charged during that period, voiding the tow records, and formally canceling the HOA contract. He said he apologized for the inconvenience. I said I appreciated the acknowledgement. He said if I had any documentation of damages, I could submit a claim. I said I would consider it. 2 days later, I received a check in the mail from the tow company. It was a full refund of the fees they had attempted to charge, plus a $50 goodwill credit. I deposited it and sent a copy of the check to Mark. He said the HOA was hemorrhaging vendor relationships because of Monica. He said the landscaping company and the pool service had both walked after the audit revealed similar contract lapses and payment disputes. He said the board was scrambling to find replacements. A week later, the HOA held another board meeting. This time, it was inside the clubhouse meeting room. The agenda included a vote on Monica's removal from the board. I attended with Mark and about 30 other residents. Monica did not show. Carl opened the meeting and summarized the findings of the audit. He said the investigation confirmed multiple policy violations, improper fee assessments, abuse of admin access, and failure to maintain vendor contracts. He said the board had voted unanimously to remove Monica Phillips from the election committee and from the board effective immediately. He said the HOA would be implementing new oversight procedures, including quarterly audits and a resident complaint process. He said the board was also in the process of drafting a formal apology to affected residents. The room applauded. Someone asked about Monica's timeline. Carl said the timeline of events was reviewed and discrepancies were found. He said Monica had claimed certain enforcement actions were taken in response to resident violations, but the records showed the actions were initiated before any violations occurred. He said Karen's timeline was proven false with timestamps. He said the evidence was submitted to the management company and would be part of the public record. Someone asked if Monica would face legal consequences. Carl said that was a decision for the board and legal counsel. After the meeting, I walked out with Mark. He said justice felt good. I said it did. He said Monica tried to flex authority and the policy said she could not. That was the funny karma beat. She had quoted rules that did not exist, enforced contracts that had expired, and issued violations that were never valid. Every move she made to intimidate me had backfired because she had no actual authority. The board had to cancel the vendor relationship tied to the abuse because the contract was expired and the company had been operating on bluff. Karen's timeline was proven false with timestamps because I had logged every gate failure, every notice, every conversation. The payback was a written reversal from management with a real citation for Monica, stripping her of every bit of power she had abused. I went home and opened the Monica folder one last time. I had over 200 pages of documentation. I saved it all to a backup drive and then closed the folder. I checked my refinance status. The closing was back on track. No liens, no clouds, no delays. The lender confirmed the final documents and we set a closing date. 2 weeks later, I signed the papers and the deal was done. A month after that, I was walking to my car and saw a for sale sign in front of Monica's townhome. Mark texted me the same day. He said Monica was moving out. He said the board had offered her a settlement to avoid further legal action and she had taken it. He said she was relocating to another state. I said I was not going to miss her. He said the neighborhood was already calmer. The new board had hired a professional management company and resident complaints had dropped. The gate system was upgraded and the access issues were resolved. The HOA was functioning like it was supposed to. I still check the Monica folder every now and then. It reminds me that documentation wins. It reminds me that you can fight back against HOA abuse if you are willing to do the work. It reminds me that people like Monica count on you being too tired, too scared, or too busy to push back. But if you keep every receipt, every email, every timestamp, you can take them down. The Parkside Reserve Association is a different place now. The board meetings are boring, which is exactly what they should be. The rules are applied evenly. The vendors are vetted and contracted properly. The residents feel heard. Monica is gone, and the neighborhood is better for it. I still live here. I still pay my HOA fees on time. I still track every transaction. And if another Monica ever shows up, I will be ready. Because I know how to fight, and I know how to win. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day.